something right at the beginning.
Sure.
Why did you start writing?
If you've read Joe Lansdale, you love Joe Lansdale.
I wanted to be one ever since I found comic books. But when I read Edgar Rice Burroughs, I knew I had to be one. I didn't want to be one, I had to be one.
You know, he lives in Nacogdoches, Texas. It's one of the oldest towns in Texas.
It's got so much heritage and so much history.
Who the F is this guy? Great writer who can kill you not only with words, but with his hands.
And Davy Crockett was in Congress in Tennessee, and in fact, when he left, he says, when he lost, he said, you can all go to hell, I'm going to Texas.
Because that didn't turn out so good for him. You know, he died at the Alamo with a lot of other people.
I want everyone to know that not only is he a great artist, but he's a wonderful father.
The one I had, you almost had to stand on top of it to get it to type.
He died at his typewriter, which is the best way to go, you know.
Hey guys, I'm Randy Unger, and this is another edition of Unger the Radar, where we talk all things film. And with me tonight, I have documentary filmmaker Hansi Oppenheimer of the new documentary All Hail the Popcorn King. It's about the renowned author Joe Lansdale, and it's a great documentary. It was very informative, very illuminating, and I'm curious, Hansi, how did the project originally come about?
I was a guest in Houston a couple years ago, and because I'm from New York, I didn't realize like how big Texas is. So I was like, oh, Houston, cool. So I wrote to Joe and said, like, I'll be in Texas, can I come and interview my YouTube channel? 3-hour ride later, we went out to lunch, we did an interview at his dojo, and then we sort of stayed friends on Twitter. And then when I did my Joe Bob Briggs doc, I asked Joe to contribute, and he wrote this really beautiful piece, and then he read it for us. So I was, when an author takes 24 hours out of their day to write you something and send it to you, it was like amazing.
Yeah.
And I said the next doc will be about you, and I think he thought I was kidding, but
I was very surprised by that, I'm sure.
Yeah, he has said he was kind of overwhelmed by it. He lives a very unrenowned life. Mm-hmm. He doesn't go for any of the fancy stuff. He just, family, writing, martial arts, dogs.
Nice. So how was Nacogdoches like?
It's beautiful. I love Nacogdoches. I would go there again anytime. I've been there 3 times now, and the 3rd time was we screened at the Nacogdoches Film Festival, and it was the coolest thing because we did a Q&A after, and people were actually coming up and asking for my autograph.
Really cool. That's awesome.
It was amazing. We screened at George R. Martin's theater. He invited us to screen. And so I got to do the Q&A with George Martin moderating, me and Joe, which was crazy. He's a writer's writer. Like, anyone in the business knows who he is, but he's not a household name. So it's been really interesting, and I've had to explain who he is to a lot of people.
What was the quote in your film? The most famous non-famous person, or something?
Yeah, something, the most famous unknown writer. Yeah. That's his daughter Casey saying that.
Right.
Yeah, great. And it's kind of true. I think that's the choice he made to do what he wanted to do. Mm-hmm. He doesn't tolerate a lot of bullshit.
What were some of the challenges you faced during production?
Well, I basically funded it with my credit cards. So right now it's about an $8,000 budget. So that's a challenge.
Okay.
I had a lot of people who worked for free or, very small amounts to help out, editing or designing something, or Alex McVeigh, who did the poster. Yeah, people have been, Joe's fans are great, and they were really willing to help out. But there's only so much you can do with $8,000.
True. Well, you made it work, and it worked out really well.
Thanks.
What are some of your personal favorite novels or stories of Joe's?
Uh, well, I really love Sunset and Sawdust.
Okay.
Um, you know, a red-haired ballsy vixen is close to my heart. But I love The Drive-In. It's just like, it's such a unique book, I'd love to see a film adaptation of it, and it's been optioned a bunch of times, but no one's figured out how to make it. And I love The Magic Wagon, and I love the Hap and Leonard series. I mean, there's, his short stories, The Night at the Horror Show. He does so many genres that there's something for everyone,
Yeah. And now, was it hard? Because I know you met him, you've worked with him, and was it hard separating the man from the artist?
No, not at all. He is, yeah, he is the artist, and it's so funny because like he's so sharp and he has such an incredible memory, and he's a reading machine. Like he just reads everything. And like I would mention Raymond Chandler, and he would give me 3 Raymond Chandlerisms, like oof. But he is a writer and he's an artist and he lives in his head. And so a couple times, like I said to him, dude, you Yoda'd me. He would just say something that would like be like, oh my God, like wow. And then I, email him and say, you Yoda'd me yesterday, and he's like, well, I have no idea what I said, but I'm glad it worked.
That's great.
So there's, that's the writer thing, like where he lives in his own head, sort of. But he's really grounded, and just incredibly generous. I mean, he really let me into his life and his family's life, and I know, they matter more than anything.
Okay, cool. What was it like filming the scenes of the martial arts in the dojo?
Well, I went to the dojo once and shot an interview with him, and then the footage of him kicking the shit out of that guy is from somebody else's video that they let me use because he was doing like a demonstration, and like you can see the pain on that guy's face.
Yeah.
And Joe's 68, like he's but even like Bruce Campbell said, like he's a killer.
Yeah.
He'll kill you with words, or like
Hands.
he'll kill you. Yeah, you don't want to fuck with Joe Lansdale. He's very even-tempered, but I would never want to piss him off.
Were you thinking of doing this film for a while? What was the genesis of this idea?
Like anything else, it was just like okay, let's do a documentary of Joe Lansdale and then figure out how to do it. I'm a pantser.
Okay.
So I just go into it and shoot. And a lot of it is just like off the cuff. Like I just hung out with him. Like there were scenes in like the car where we're just chatting, where he took me to Gladewater to see where I grew up and just telling stories. And I like that kind of cinema verite kind of documentary. Like I don't go in with any idea of like who this person is. I just let them talk, and then it becomes apparent.
Okay. And what do you hope audiences take away from the film?
Well, I hope Joe gets the recognition he deserves.
Yeah.
I'd really like Joe Lansdale to be as big a household name as Stephen King, because he's a good man. He's an incredible artist. And he's also like, that was a thing about getting all those people like Don Coscarelli and Bruce Campbell and, F. Paul Wilson and all these, Amber Benson. It was all because they loved Joe and they wanted to be part of this. So, it's nice to see a film about someone who is a decent human being, because there's so many documentaries about just the worst people.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't think it has to be sensational. I think you can show someone's a decent person and a decent artist and still make it interesting.
Yeah. And you definitely did that with the film. Yeah. And you have a great style, great eye. I'm curious, who are some of your filmmaker influences?
Well, I guess my earliest, my dad worked for CBS. My dad was a cameraman, so I kind of grew up around the business. And then my parents owned prop shops. So I was always, I even had like a little toy CBS camera that my dad had built in the prop shop for me, because I guess it was always there. But I think like John Waters, early John Waters, like I want to be that kind of filmmaker, or early Stan Brakhage or Les Blank, sort of quirky, sort of campy, low budget. I think $100 million budgets are insane.
Yeah. Especially for a documentary. You don't need that much to tell a good story.
I like indie films, and I like, the control that you have when you're making an indie film, and you don't have a board of directors telling you, oh, you can or can't do this.
Right.
I don't know if I would be able to do that. So I just do this.
Cool. Don't let your creativity get stifled. That's like the worst thing.
That's not, I already have like 4 more films like ready to go once we finish this up. Hopefully we'll get a distribution deal, and then I can move on to the next project. I have one about splatterpunk that John Skip and I have been talking about doing together. And I have a horror film that I shot in 2 days, but I need to edit it. I just haven't had time. And
Okay. Are any of these documentaries as well?
the splatterpunk one will be a documentary.
All right. Can you talk about that at all now, or?
Well, so I met John Skip at KillerCon. I did a panel with Joe and Brian Keane and Joe's family about the film at KillerCon, and John Skip was there, and I loved all the splatterpunk, Skip Inspector and David Scow and all those guys. And I've got to meet a lot of them, and like they did a panel on splatterpunk, and it's so interesting, like how that came about. It was based on like punk music and horror, and it was and none of the writers really are. I think maybe Skip and Spectre are the only ones who are actually splatterpunk. Okay. Everyone else was doing their own thing and just got kind of put in that, like, yeah, Joe's not thrilled with the being lumped in with splatterpunk. But I think it was a really interesting time for writers, and a lot of writers started you started seeing their work, and it was an opening to a lot of writers that you might not have seen otherwise. Okay.
I don't know much about splatterpunk, but it sounds awesome right now.
Have you read Skip and Spectre?
I have not. No, but yeah, I think I might after this interview.
Yeah, yeah, they really nail it.
Yes.
The Light at the End, and maybe, is it the Book of the Dead? I think they did. Okay.
And you know what? I wanted to get into, because you touched on KillerCon. I know you're big in the Comic-Con circuit. What is it about the con culture that fascinates you?
Oh man.
I know.
Well, I've always been a fangirl. My first crush was Adam West as Batman. And then the second was Ginger Baker. Okay. And I was like 10 or something. But yeah, I've always been a fangirl. And I started to make a documentary about fanfic in 2012. And so I was invited to my first Harry Potter convention. I'd been to a couple of like the horror conventions, the Fangoria stuff, but I'd never gone to like, and it was, the people I met in 2012 are still my friends. Like there's this real community among con culture. Yes. You see the same people at every con, you see the same cosplayers, you start to know the vendors, the artist alley. It's this whole world unto itself, and it's really creative, and they're very supportive. And I do miss that now that we're,
yeah, no,
not allowed to go anywhere. I mean, I think New York City Comic-Con is going to be canceled. I think Rhode Island is going to be canceled. I mean,
yeah, sad. The last I think I went to, the last big one was probably Monster Mania in Atlantic City, and that was pretty amazing. I met the cast of Police Academy, Terry Kaiser. You know, it was just a crazy mixed bag of celebrities from the 80s and 90s, and it was just fantastic.
Documentary ones are fun. I was going to go to the one that they canceled just recently, like in March or something.
Mm.
And I was really bummed because Brad Dourif was going to be there, and he's another like Dourif. And Jackie Earle Haley was going to be there, and I have like a original costume from Preacher the show with Quinn, meat and power plant worker. So
Okay.
I was like, oh, Jackie Earle Haley, we have to take a picture. But you know, hopefully there'll be more cons in the future. You know, I hope it's not all Zoom from now on, because
No.
you don't get the same.
Yeah, you can't have 3,000 people on a Zoom call. So
It's just, you know, you need that community, that, you know, everyone crowded into a space, and like you're just walking around and you're like, oh my God, are you so and so this character? Or I love that, you know, it's, you know.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
high school in a way, like, you know, just the popularity and the click. There's no clicks really at cons. It's like, it's just one big click, it seems, you know. Everyone is connected, and that's what I
Yeah,
love.
it does seem like that like pretty much everyone accepts everyone, and I haven't really met anyone who's been a dick about it. So I'm actually working on 3 cosplays for when cons start again.
All right, cool.
I'm doing a femme Ash, a femme Victorian Ash, a femme Hellboy, and an American Mary.
Cool. Very ambitious, I must say.
Well, I got to do something.
Yeah.
I can't work on the film until we get distribution. I can't do anything. We're kind of stuck right now, so I'm just doing publicity. Hopefully, we'll get one of the channels interested, and then I can, you know, move on to something else. But I got to do something creative, or I'll go crazy.
I hear you. I'm actually part of the charity group, the New York City Ghostbusters, and
Oh, cool.
yeah, we suit up, we go to parades and events, and we teach kids all about making slime. It's basically a chemistry education, and they also have some fun too. So yeah, I suit up for the cons whenever I can. We actually did a birthday call, a Zoom birthday call for this kid, 13 years old, huge Ghostbusters fan, and we made his day just, you know, singing him happy birthday.
Were you in that doc about Ghostbusters fans?
No, Ghost Heads, no.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of friends who are in it. Yeah.
It was a good film.
Yeah. It definitely captures the essence of what we do. So it's pretty cool.
And let's face it, those proto packs are fucking cool, man.
They are. They're heavy too.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. I have the one from Spirit Halloween. It's a lot lighter. It's more cost effective. But you know, I'm saving up for the real thing. At some point, I'll get that. Yeah,
I just had a custom-made chainsaw hand piece made for my Ash.
That's cool. I was actually, I could send you a picture after this. I was Ash maybe a few years ago. I had just like a Toys R Us chainsaw that I just duct taped to my hand to make it look like it was part of my hand. It was very, you know, DIY, but I made it work, you know. That's a fun cosplay to do, actually. The blood on the face. And, yeah, it's cool.
Man, and I got the straps for the boomstick in the back, and then the chainsaw arm, and
perfect.
covered with blood, and
well, I hope to see that in person someday. I really do.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll end up doing Monster Mania or something together once the horror cons come back.
Yeah, that's a date. That's yes. So Hansi, I'm curious, are there any other projects that you can talk about right now?
You know, it's just the Splatterpunk one now, and I actually reached out to Skip and I said, why don't we start doing interviews on Zoom, just so we start collecting? And he's like, I don't want to do a film on Zoom. And then like there was some filmmakers who did an entire film on Zoom.
Wow.
And they got it in theaters. So it was 15,000 they made, but they made the biggest box office of that week because no other theaters were showing. So I'm like, to Skip, I was like, you should have listened to me.
Yeah, that's a great marketing tactic. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, really smart.
So yeah, Hansi, this was great. I just want to thank you so much for your time, and I'd love to have you back again on the future.
Absolutely, I would love to. And if you want me to come back and talk about cosplay and show you
Yeah.
some of my stuff, I'd be happy to do that, or horror films or whatever.
Okay, that's top of your head. Favorite horror film of all time? Go.
Oh shit. I love horror. I watch horror all the time. Yeah, I mean the Evil Dead series is, Bubba Hotep. I think Near Dark. I just started watching a Bruce Campbell movie. It's got David Carradine. It's a vampire movie. I think it's called Sundown. Somebody told me about an interview I did last night with Fangirl Mag. They told me about it, and it's so weird because Bruce Campbell is like such a baby in it. I mean, he's got to be in his early 20s, and he's really dorky. I don't know how over the top he is. So like with Sam Raimi knows him well enough, and they can manage to like keep it. But like, yeah, this director did not know how to direct him. He's really goofy.
Oh.
It's still Bruce though, so like I'll watch anything Bruce is in.
Yeah, I definitely need to brush up on. There's a movie I've been meaning to see for years, Crime Wave. Is that worth seeing? I mean, I know.
Yeah, definitely. Any Sam movie, What else is? I'm fucking in love with the Soska sisters. I just watched American Mary, and then I watched Rabid, and then I watched Dead Hooker in a Trunk.
Okay.
And, you could see them getting better and sort of maturing and becoming who they are. But in American Mary, they're amazing. They're who want their arms exchanged so they can like be part of each other all the time.
Wow. That's deep.
Yeah, the Soska sisters are cool. I like women filmmakers. I like The Ranger. The Ranger was really good.
Okay.
Jen Winsler. Yeah, I have hundreds of movies.
You know what? While we're on the topic, I do this on my show quite a lot. I call it pandemic picks. Unfortunately, it's stuff that we watch that's on demand. It's on in our Blu-ray player. What are we watching right now? And I wanted to extend that question to you. What are you watching during the pandemic?
Well, I watch Shudder TV a lot. I'll just put that on and leave that and let that roll. I also, when I'm feeling needy, I'll watch Adult Swim Rick and Morty marathons.
Nice.
But yeah, I'll try anything. You know, and if it doesn't work in 20 minutes, then I move on.
Same here. Well, Hansi, again, thank you so much for your time today. This was so cool, and best of luck with the film.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate you taking the time to help us promote it. And hopefully we'll get a good distribution deal.
Yeah. But yeah, again, thank you. And this has been Under the Radar, and I'm your host, Randy Unger. Thanks so much for watching.
Thanks, Randy.